Hey guys, Eric with Painting Business Pro, and I'm back in this video. This is the second video out of a 3-video series that I'm doing about patience, perspective, and giving you a different perspective on building your business, because I just see this as such a huge problem that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs have, especially people who are just getting started. Just have such unrealistic expectations. You deal a lot with failure. People get really frustrated. They get burned out. They get stressed, anxious, and so the first video we talked about how you, as a human being, how we deal with failure, and it's really, really unproductive, and it doesn't have to be. So if you missed that video, I would highly recommend you go watch it. It's a really, really important video for anyone who, really anybody at all, but especially anybody who's in business or building their own business. And this is going to be the second video where we're going to talk a little bit about expectations and how you kind of set yourself up to fail with your unrealistic expectations. And before you say, hey, I already know all this, Eric, just consider that maybe you don't. Maybe mastering expectations is not you've done it or you haven't. Maybe it's a sliding scale. Maybe your expectations are not unrealistic and you think you have good expectations, and maybe your good expectations are unrealistic. Maybe you need to lower the bar even more, and maybe there's a benefit to lowering the bar. Maybe there's a benefit to lowering your expectations even more. And that's what I'm going to propose to you, because that's what I've learned through a lot of trial and error. So I'm just trying to pass this on, because this is something that has made a really big difference for me, particularly even this year, is just lowering my expectations. And it's really actually propelled me forward more in my business, given me a lot more peace of mind, a lot more freedom. It's really made my work a lot more enjoyable by just changing my expectations on things a little bit and really inspecting what my expectations have been. So the first thing I want to point out is that failure is when you don't get what you want. Okay, and that's what we covered in the first video. Failure is when you don't get what you want, and most of us don't really, like, we know what we want, but we don't really know what we want. We kind of have this really insanely high expectation of what we want. We want to basically have no problems ever, tons of money, and perfect relationships. That's kind of what we want, and that's just never going to happen. So we end up dealing with failure all the time. And so we want to really discover, hey, what are my expectations and what I want, and how much am I really setting myself up to experience failure all the time? So there's a few things. So one thing is, failure is not actually the problem. There's no problem with failing. Failing is just when I don't get what I want. The real problem with failure is the response we have to failure, which is what we covered in the first video. The response we have to failure is where all the suffering happens. Failure in itself isn't a big deal, really. If you just are unwilling to go through all those things, and it's just, hey, I wanted X and I got Y. Okay, yeah, cool. So what are we going to do about that? And you don't go do all the other stuff we talked about. There's no problem with failure. So that's all in video number one. But what we can avoid this experience of failure. We can avoid getting hooked and triggered by failure by setting better expectations for ourselves. Now, before we kind of get into this, the very first thing you need to do, if you want to set better expectations, the first step is you've got to discover what expectations you have. See, as a person, as a human being, you have a brain. Your brain's job is to predict. Your brain's job is to predict. And so you always have expectations and desires, the ones you say out loud, the ones you're conscious of, but then you have all kinds of these unconscious, kind of like not even quite aware of what your expectations are. And it might be really getting in your way. So what we want to do first is kind of discover, like, what expectations do you already have? What are your wants? What are your desires? Like, what do you think it's going to be? So the first one here is to really ask yourself, and you might pause the video and take out a pen and paper and just do this real quick, or grab your phone and just send yourself a quick email. Like, if you're really honest with yourself, like, what do you want? And is it realistic? For a long time, I wanted, I know, I'll give you some examples. So I know I work with people and business partners who want to build a sales team and be done. They just want to be done with it. Like, hey, I'll build this team and then I'm done. Or they want to build this team one time, promote someone, and have them build all future teams. I know I wanted that for a long time. I'm like, hey, I'm going to hire someone and they're going to just run this company forever, and it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And that doesn't happen. I had expectations for Painter Choice, our lead company, that, hey, as soon as we just get to here and here, like, it's just going to take off and just pay me forever. And then, oh wait, the business landscape changed and that didn't happen. I know I wanted to basically, painting business pro, I'm like, hey, I want to build this thing and I just want to get paid and not do anything. So there's kind of like, for me, a big theme was, hey, I want to work and do all this stuff to get somewhere so then I can just sit back and do whatever I want for any time I want and make a bunch of money. Some people might want, I know for me, it's like I have these goals, that I'm driven towards, that I really want to build and work on. And that has become what I want. But I've been able to kind of set that aside and be like, cool, I do want that, I am striving for that, but let's get a little more clear about expectations. Let's set the bar really low for like, hey, I really want this and I'm striving for this, but let's get a little more clear on maybe what expectations you can set for yourself. And we'll get into that in a second. So get really clear for a second, like what is it you want? You can still hang on to that, but then we want to go a different route and actually set some different expectations that are not going to set yourself up for constant feelings of failure. Another one here is, that's what I said right there. So unrealistic expectations set you up for trouble. They set you up for this constant experience of problems. So I see this with people starting a painting company or building their painting company all the time. They're just like so frustrated. They're like, Eric, I feel like I've been working so hard and like I'm just not getting there. Like, yeah, it's a business. Like there's going to be ups and downs. Like, what did you expect? That it was just going to be like, I think people, and one of the things here I have down here is being smart can get in your way. So I see this a lot with really smart, ambitious people is, look, you are smart. You are ambitious. You are like very driven. You do work hard. And you think that because I'm smarter than other people or because I work harder than other people or because I have more experience than other people, I shouldn't have problems like other people do. And that's like guaranteed to set you up for failure. I think also people who are really smart, you're sitting there like, no, Eric, I know there's going to be problems. I know I'm going to have to put my time in. But you also don't think you'll have as many problems, or you think they'll be easier, or you think you'll be able to deal with them more, or you think you're not going to be confronted with massive failure. And that can really get in your way if you think you're above problems, you're above challenges. So you just really want to be careful, because I think a lot of people will watch this video and say, hey, like, no, I have realistic expectations. Like, I know it's going to be hard. I know I'm going to work hard. I know there's going to be failure. Yet, when you're confronted with it, it can overwhelm you. You're like, but I didn't think it'd be like this, or this is worse than I thought, or why me? And it's like, no, just let's set the bar really, really low. All right, so that you're ready for that, so that, yeah, maybe it's going to be as good as you think. If the bar is really low, that's just a massive success. All right, so I'll share with you a little bit about how I've reset some expectations for myself and what difference it's made. So that's what we want to look at. Is we want to I really would encourage you to reset some expectations for starting your business or growing your business. And I'll just share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way. So one is things take longer than you expect. Things just tend to take longer than you think or you want. And so, you might be like, hey, it's going to take me 1 year to get to here, and then next year here. We kind of have this tendency to be overly optimistic. And even when we say, hey, well, no, let's just say it takes 2 years, you're just like toning it down to slightly optimistic instead of overly optimistic. Let's just be a little pessimistic and say, hey, like, for me, I'm like, look, I've kind of changed my expectation to, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get to my goals. I don't know if I'll ever build a $100 million company. I don't know if it'll take me, I'm going to try and do it as fast as I can, but I know I got to do it in the right step, and I can't cut corners, and, maybe it'll take me 5 years, maybe it'll take me 10, maybe it'll take me 15. I don't really know how long it's going to take. So that's one expectation, is I've kind of set aside any concern for the timeline. And I encourage you to do the same thing. You got into business not for like 3 years out. You got into business because that's like, you see that as an opportunity for your whole life. And so for me, I'm like, look, I'm going to be working for 20 or 30 years, and I would love to go and accomplish just unbelievable things. But if I just accomplish a tenth of what I'm aiming for, like, I'll have a great life. I'll be really successful. I'll be really happy. And so I'm just going to kind of lower that expectation so that if I go build a $80 million company and I never build 100, I don't want that to feel like a failure to me. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm good with where I'm at, and I'm just going to keep working away. So that's one expectation, that I've kind of taken away the timeline and said, I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm going to work really hard, and I'm going to know that there's tons of unknowns. That's one suggestion I would have, is just to reset expectations around the timelines for your success. The second thing is that I kind of want to just add it. Actually, this isn't the second thing, but I want to add it in here. There's something I've talked a lot about called the compound effect. When you take like a lot of consistent effort, that compounds a lot over time. So what you accomplish in 5 years might not be close to your goals, but what you can accomplish in the next 5 might take you past your goals. You just have no idea how fast something could take off. So it's really hard to like project how far you'll go, and there's a lot of companies out there. I'm sure almost no companies have really projected their success to the degree it is. Maybe Uber's way bigger than they ever thought they would be. Airbnb might be way bigger than they ever thought they'd be. And then there's a lot of companies that thought they'd be massive and kind of hit pretty low, but they're still really successful. They're just way below what they hoped for, and then they're let down. So let go of your expectations around time, number one. Second thing is, I kind of had this, drive to like, hey, I want to get to a point where I'm like, not working or something, and you just want to give that up and say, hey, I'm going to work as long as I have to work. I had a lot of attachment to like, well, I don't want to do that task or that job for more than this long, or I don't want to do that for this long, or I want to move past that. My expectation now is I'm going to do what's ever needed for my business, and I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to be working for a long time. I like doing what I do. There's things I don't love that I'm doing right now, but I'm just going to give that up too, and just know that, hey, I got to do whatever is needed of me in my business, period. And that's what I'm going to do. So kind of releasing myself from these expectations of what my role is going to look like, my entitlement to doing this or that. So I kind of let that go a little bit. So now my expectation is, I don't know how long it's going to take, and I'm just going to keep working and doing the best that I can, and I'm going to do whatever my business needs of me. And changing those couple expectations for me has made a huge, huge difference. And then the third one is, I've just accepted that we're going to constantly have turnover, and we're going to constantly be losing employees. One thing I'm really committed to is building an extraordinary team and a place where people work and never want to leave. But we're going to have turnover, and we're going to constantly be losing people and bringing new people in and promoting people, and that's just the nature of building a business. So I used to have an expectation of, we're going to get this team in place and then we'll just keep building. But no, it's kind of this never-ending, two steps forward, one step back. And so I've just kind of learned to embrace the fact that we're always going to be bringing people on. We're always going to be losing people, whether it's because they moved on to bigger things, or because we let them go, or because they got upset, or a million different other reasons. But it's kind of the nature of building a business that we're always going to be kind of going through that process of turning over employees and bringing on new people and retraining, and that process is just never going to end. This is called running a business, and it's just the game that I chose to play. So resetting those few expectations for me. And I've done other things with Painting Business Pro and with Painter Choice, that I'm just playing the game, and I'm not so focused on the end result and how quickly I need to get there and what I need to be doing. And I think the result that I've seen just in the last 6 months is we've grown our businesses so much more. It's been so much more enjoyable, so much more fun, and I'm so much more excited for the future. And I think the result is I'm actually going to get to my goals a lot faster, probably, by not being so focused on the goals and by lowering those expectations and really enjoying the process. So I hope this video helps give you a little bit of perspective on how you can, just relax a little bit and enjoy the process and have some patience and slow down. You don't need to be in such a rush. You can enjoy what you're doing, because the reality is when you keep getting to those next levels, you're going to still have those same complaints. Then you'll just want the next thing and the next thing. I know what I'm doing today, or what I was even doing a year ago. Man, I used to dream of getting to that point. But once I was there, I just wanted to get somewhere else. And so, just relax and enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. Don't be so attached to your timelines. And if there's any other opportunities you see for yourself, take it on and lower those expectations so you can enjoy it all. I'd love to hear what you got out of this video. You can just drop a comment below. I hope it was useful, and I hope you can, just adjust some of your expectations and, set yourself up for success. We'll see you soon.